Hey everyone, this is my review of the Takeover for the Nintendo Switch and also currently available on Steam. Guys, welcome. And the Takeover is basically a modern age beat 'em up in the essence and style of old school Streets of Rage and Final Fight, crime fighters. It is created and developed by developer Pelican 13, which were working on a game called the 90s Retro Arcade Racer, which never came to fruition. Now, I'm quite surprised and I was quite happy to see this amazing looking game brought to life in this new day and era where it's very overrated, or not overrated, but overwhelmed with nothing but, high-end graphical games. Here is the selection of characters. You can pick from 4 characters after you beat it the first time, which you have characters like Ethan, Megan, Connor, and Jackson. And each one has their own proprietary style of gameplay and fighting skills. They're pretty charming because they all have and take a lot of elements from different existing characters from other old school beat 'em ups. The Takeover's graphics is a big and stylized combination of games like Pit Fighter and even Mortal Kombat, with a lot more colorful light and brightness to it. Very, very charming. And the gameplay is honestly very, very, very pleasantly responsive and very, very good. It has the brutality, the sounds when you're hitting things, when you're smashing things. It just feels like you're actually connecting with the contact, with the physics, like the old school styles, with those real rugged punching sounds. You see here, they have beautiful different varieties of levels. Right here, you're in the arcade. The lighting and the attention to detail in the game is really quite remarkable for being a really smaller beat 'em up game. You can tell that they were trying to definitely utilize the power and style of new gen hardware. And you see that it also has some amazing cutscenes. It actually has a story in which it tries to tell you as it goes along through these beautiful animated cutouts and drawn in scenes, like if you were looking at a digital comic in real life or in real time with actual voiceover. So it makes the experience pretty refreshing and still feel old but yet new. You see that when you're fighting, the enemy variations is quite robust. They have a lot of nice enemy variations. And a character like this, for example, which you see here, like in the case of this guy here, which is Connor, he's more of the tough, strong guy. He's a mixture of like characters like Rolando mixed with Max from Streets of Rage, and also mixed with Haggard from Final Fight. What I really love about this game was that the gameplay feels solid and very responsive. Now, that's not to say I don't have some little knacks and complaints, because I do. I didn't like the fact that in the game, when you fight characters and they die and they drop what you need, like weapons, upgrades, little foods and stuff that you need to power up your meter, to make you stronger, like in your case, as you see up there, your rage mode, so that you can do a actual sequence where you go into this rage mode and you just kill people a lot faster with less hits because you're a lot stronger. And also the smaller green meter that you see underneath your health meter, as you see there in the HUD, it fills up with this green bar, and once it fills up, you actually have the ability to do a magic mode, or a what you would call airstrike mode, like in the first original Streets of Rage. Once you pressed it, you saw that all these missiles come out, and as they're coming out, you see that it's coming from like the enforcers, like a cop unit or a military unit. They have awesome segments like you see here, where you have to run while you're getting chased down, which reminds me very much like the segment in Streets of Rage 3. You can definitely tell the developers loved beat 'em ups, and their heart and soul was very, very much in the beat 'em up genre making this game. The game style, look, and graphics and aesthetics feels very, very much like an old school Sega arcade game. This is definitely something that you would have seen on a Sega console or an arcade near you in your local arcade shop. It just has that feel. Now, each character doesn't have a lot of amount of move sets, but they have enough to keep you interested in giving you enough of variations and even keeping your characters afloat in the air for multiple multipliers of combos. Like as you see here with the young lady looking like Blaze. She's very, very agile, fast, doesn't take out as much what you call it, energy or health from the characters, but she's so fast. If you know how to use her, you can keep them so barraged with and stunned that they won't, have a chance to even hit you back and pose a threat for that matter. It has a very nice amount of different boss battles, as you see here. There's a plethora of different boss battles in the game, as you can see, which is really fantastic, really great, because it never feels like you're just fighting levels and that's it. Each level has a nice amount of length within it. They have little mini games within it as well, like when you break barrels in the Street Fighter 2 during the bonus round. You actually have it within the game itself as you're playing the game. You can use weapons, as you see here. Each character has a designated weapon. Like this character, Megan, has a side pistol. Connor has like a shotgun, and he does some awesome killer moves with the shotgun. The sound effects and the music is second to none, spectacular. They understood what they did with games like Streets of Rage and Crime Fighters and Double Dragon. They understood that the music and the beat kept the game exceptionally fun, and it kept you into the groove with some techno ballad style, house music style from back in the day. Really low tone. They even have some music that feels like they were trying to reinterpret and reintroduce things like songs that you found in the final fight on the Sega CD. Here's another amazing segment, as you see, where you're racing on a car, shooting enemies, trying to get away and jumping over ramps, which is very arcade. It feels so very much like something like you would play like an Outrun, which makes the game have a lot of fun gameplay variations. And fun factor, which is the most important element, of course, especially in a game that is considered the genre to just be a button masher. And that's not the case with the Takeover. The Takeover actually feels like you have to really think and thought out how you do your combos, which way you're going to do them, if you're going to use your high kicks or low kicks, if you're going to do your grabs, if you're going to do your grapple moves, if you're going to do your throws, when you use your rage mode, when do you use your raid mode or air raid or magic raid. And as you see, it never seems to be boring or let up on the action. It always makes you feel like there's something new being thrown at you at every corner. Now, what things I feel can be improved with the Takeover? Well, there's not much, but there are some. So let's talk about those. For example, there are parts when you fight that you really are in duress and you need to get a hold of the items that characters drop when you kill them, and they disappear so fast that you don't get a chance to. And a lot of that comes from the fact that while you're playing, the characters have an automatic grab system. So when you are next to something close, even if you're just trying to press down and on the analog stick with the button to pick it up, it instead grabs a character and makes you lose the opportunity to grab these special items that help you along your way. Here's another good example of what I said about variation in gameplay. Here's a segment that feels very much so like an homage and harkens back to Afterbirth. It looks incredible, it plays really pretty, and it looks absolutely stunning. Even on the Switch, I could only imagine what this game would look like in 4K, in a native resolution, with HDR, and in 60 frames. Because the color already alone with the normal palette that it has is extremely colorful. And it works really well because it has a mixture of realistic looking graphics with cel shaded outline indentations. This boss battle here is in a factory, and as you fight him, you see that not only you have the threat of fighting him, but you also have the threat of the background environments shooting fire and doing things like moving that can actually hit you and may pose a threat as you're fighting the boss battles. Then you see the variations in levels that you can see here. Look at how the trees move with the billowing of the flowers. You can see them from the wind. And it's also a storm. It's kind of raining, and you're in like ancient Japan somewhere, based on the the way of the style, the art style, and the drawing of the level itself. And it does reflect. And you can also melee the characters with your weapons. One other thing that I don't like is when you do that, you tend to lose the weapon even if you didn't use any of the weapon's bullets or even of the weapon at all. You have two power moves that you do with the designated, I think it's the Y button or the X button. You press it. If you press it regularly, it does one particular move, and you press it with holding the analog in a certain direction, it does another move. And each enemy is very aggressive, even on the normal mode. That's another thing I can actually complain about, that even on easy, the game is extremely difficult, especially if you're not experienced with these types of beat 'em ups. Now, what I will say is this: one of the things that the game has that's also I can feel is a bad negative is that the whole game as you're playing in all of its levels feel very balanced. The game has a total of 7 stages, right, or levels, and each level is broken down in like 3 or 4 stages, which would be 3 different stages and then a boss battle. But by the time you get to the last stage, the 7th stage, it feels like they just tried to make it so hard where it just becomes frustrating and obnoxious. It really takes away the fun and the balance and the feel of the balance that you had throughout the game until the very end. Now, this character here, for example, Ethan, he's very much reminiscent to Axel and obviously Cody from Final Fight and Streets of Rage respectively. But he also has hints of other little characters, like, for example, as you see there, he does that mule kick like Chun-Li with his hands. And then you see there his fire source. He almost looks like Terry Bogard with those fire moves that he does. And to be honest, his color deco is almost like a nod and throwback to Terry Bogard, but without the hat, right? So you always seem to feel at home and familiar with it, but still feels very fresh. And it feels very, very nice to see a developer that's small actually take the time to make the game look and feel not old school only, but to feel new and fresh, and like I said, utilizing the hardware. You have little details like when he hits them with weapons like swords or the crowbar, that you hit them so hard that you see them go and drag in and land right in the floor. And as you can see, the floor underneath them actually breaks into pieces, even though it goes back to normal. But the effect is still there and very effective. The lighting in the game is beautiful. The music is brilliantly composed. I can't stress that enough. And the variety in characters like this level here, that is much closer to the end of the game. As you can see, it's more of a theme with like mutated monsters and mutated creatures, or even human beings, which means the game doesn't really take itself seriously. And the story is pretty comprehensive. Ethan and Megan are actually husband and wife, and the plot is that their daughter, Vanessa, has been kidnapped. But the reason why she's kidnapped is pretty mind-blowing and shocking, to say the least, because it's very adult context in the story when you see what actually is the reason why she was kidnapped. This is another level where you can use a lot of the environments. You see using a machine gun, a lot of variety in weapons and guns, which is also very cool. It's a cool formula mixed together. Now, the Takeover is not going to be obviously a game for everyone, but what it does do right in many ways is that it allows itself to be so fun and fresh that anyone, even if you're not a fan of beat 'em ups or old school style arcade games like beat 'em ups, to actually be curious enough to take a look and take a try and see what it has to offer. One other thing I wish the Takeover did was that it allowed you to play in a 4-player co-op mode, which would be fantastic. Now, I believe it is 2 players, and you know, that's pretty awesome, but again, with more powerful consoles and more stronger hardware, I think skies would be the limit. You saw how beautifully that orca whale jumped over, and it's those little attention to details like the waves splashing in the back that makes it stand on its own. It's very close to the people at that made Raging Justice, that they were trying to make a game that was very old school with the love of old beat 'em ups, but yet put the time and dedication to make them look modern and use the technology of hardware of today. Now, Takeover is about a $24.99 game. I got this wonderful copy thanks to my friends over there at Pelican 13. They were nice enough to give me the review copy to review the game and to give an extra copy away as a giveaway. And I can't thank them enough for doing me that favor, for being so kind. I am extremely humbled and extremely blessed and feel absolutely honored to have the time and the privilege to play the game and to honor their body of work. Now, like I said, the Takeover is a fun game. It lasts at least a good 5 hours, which is pretty long for a beat 'em up, to say the least, because remember back in the day, games like Crime Fighters and like a Final Fight, or even the Marvel games, this Amazing Spider-Man from Sega, and all those games that were amazing, like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, they were pretty much either half an hour or 45 minutes long. The exploding effects look incredible as well. You see how the billowing of sheets go floating in the air. And I love the detail and attention they put with the 3D backdrops to make it look 3D mixed with the 2D elements. I was very happy playing the game. I can't stress that enough. And I really hope that people take the time to try to at least take a look at the game and give it a shot. And I think you will not be disappointed. One last thing that I think I need to also point out is the Takeover needs to incorporate, if they do a sequel, an ability to give characters more, move sets for each character, even though each character has a nice amount dedicated to them. But I think this is kind of like the story with Streets of Rage 1 versus Streets of Rage 2. This is a start to a new franchise that has a lot of potential to grow and become big and special, and to basically, obviously, gain the hearts of many, or the love of many. And making a sequel was only going to make things, the possibilities of it, to be better and greater. And I hope people go out and support it and actually give it a shot and try it, because this is how games and new franchises learn to grow and strive and get bigger and better, no matter whether it's a smaller game or not. And as you're going to see here, one of the last characters that I haven't spoken about, like in the roster, is Jackson. And Jackson is the character you unlock when you beat the game. And Jackson is probably the best character and the best balance of all. He has the best strength, the best speeds, the best movesets, and he's absolutely brutal and amazing to play with. He is my favorite character by far, to say the least. One other feature I haven't been able to unlock was the fact that once you beat it, I believe there's a mode where you can unlock all the characters, and it gives you an ability to play the characters and change them on the fly as you're playing them. Or even when you're playing through different levels, it changes probably automatically. I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's how it works. So guys, there you have it. My review for the Takeover on Nintendo Switch. Fingers crossed that it comes to the PlayStation platform and the Xbox platform. I had amazing fun. Thank you, Pelican 13, for giving me the chance and opportunity. You guys have something golden in your hand, and I hope it works out in your favor, and I hope to see a sequel because I have a lot of fun. I give the Takeover an unprecedented 8 out of 10. Bye-bye.